Good morning. You probably won't believe how excited I am to be speaking to you this morning. It's the 147th anniversary of the foundation of the then Ladies' College, which we now know as Presbyterian Ladies' College, or PLC. From 1974 until 1978, I was a boarder at PLC. I can't claim that I was a model student, but I was an enthusiastic, if challenging, student, and actually loved my time in the blue, the black and the gold. I had been schooled in the small local primary school and high school near my hometown in northern Victoria. And if it hadn't been for my family who encouraged learning, I would have believed myself to be a very odd fish indeed. Whilst I'd not been a lonely child, I'd lived for my books and dreams. Then I arrived at PLC and found many fascinating and exciting fellow students and teachers who stretched my horizons. I was challenged to be my best self and to give of that best self to society. Okay, there were also rules that annoyed me and that I argued about and didn't always comply with, but I loved being at PLC. I relished learning languages, literature. I could have learned almost any musical instrument I could think of. We did comparative religious studies, debating, drama, and yes, sciences like chemistry, physics, and mathematics. They even let me talk my way out of PE lessons when I couldn't do it and all of the subjects I wanted to in Year 11. I argued that my weekly bike riding to visit family and friends from Burwood to Carlton and Ringwood and Ivanhoe was surely enough exercise. More bike riding later. At PLC, I was encouraged to think that I could reach for the stars, that indeed I should. We were often reminded of the reading of Luke 12 to 48. From everyone who has been given much, much will be required. With a loving family and happy home life, wanting for little, and a brain and a mouth on me that meant I could talk my way both into and out of all kinds of trouble, I knew I'd been given much. I had always wanted to be a doctor. PLC reinforced that those people who told me that girls can't be doctors were wrong. I put my heart into my HSC studies. I applied for medicine at Melbourne Uni, and thanks to a solid performance in English and English literature, got in with a fair bit of elbow room. Many of my brilliant friends got better marks than I did, but I got what I needed, and I was on my way. In Wyslasky Hall and the very classrooms where you're sitting, I learnt a sense of responsibility to serve my community that I carry to this day. It's fair to say that I found less joy in my medical studies than I did in my studies at PLC. The thirst for learning that was ignited at school was almost drowned by long lectures with information that we were expected to memorise. I always wanted to know why. That was only one of the reasons that the Dean of Medicine did not like me. As I said, I wanted to be a doctor like those in my hometown. We now call that rural generalism. I quickly decided, rightly or wrongly, that to become a rural doctor I needed the degree, but I didn't need to impress anyone there. I just needed to pass. There were a lot of fascinating things to do at university and so many fascinating people to meet. And I'm not just talking about the young men. I joined a debating team and learnt far more outside of the classroom than inside it. I'll cut to the chase. After a lacklustre performance at university, I did become a doctor, and to my relief, I found that I loved the work. I also found a man I loved who also wanted to be a multi-skilled rural doctor. Anthony Brown and I married before any of you were born. We worked as general practitioner obstetricians in Camperdown in southwest Victoria, providing cradle-to-grave care for the whole community, working in our private practice and caring for patients in the small rural hospital in the town. In a given day, we might do a caesarean section, counsel a depressed farmer, set a broken bone, manage a heart attack, advise someone how to lose weight, talk to a boy who was concerned that his voice had not broken, or pretty much anything. We loved it. We had 4 gorgeous children. We went bike riding, running, camping. We were part of the local theatre company. We renovated an old house. We developed a garden and travelled sometimes to work in places like Arnhem Land, Ethiopia, Nigeria. And sometimes we travelled just for fun. We went skiing in Japan and walking in Europe. We had the best jobs in the world, but no one was following us into that career. I ask you, if you want to make the most impact, surely you would want to work where the need is greatest. Rural and remote Australians die up to 20 years earlier and have a heavier burden of disease than their urban compatriots. Anthony and I gradually began working to change the system. I joined the board of the then new Australian College of Rural and Remote Medicine and eventually became its president. I became Associate Professor of Rural Medicine at Deakin University Medical School. In both roles, we were grappling with what is needed to prepare doctors for rural and remote medical practice. I did a PhD examining rural maternity services. And then we moved to North Queensland, where I became Director of Rural Clinical Studies at James Cook University. We lived in Mareeba, near Cairns, and then on Thursday Island in the Torres Strait for 6 years, working in the hospital there and out on the remote clinics. We almost chose to go and work in Africa, but we believe that whilst working in Angola might have been more exciting, we can be most effective working in an Indigenous or remote community in our own country. I have been on boards of a number of rural health organisations, and all of this experience led me to be invited to become the second National Rural Health Commissioner for Australia. Who would have thought that skipping medical lectures to compete in debating was going to be the best preparation for the biggest job of my life? As the National Rural Health Commissioner, I'm tasked with implementing national rural generalist programs for medicine, nursing and allied health, but more broadly with consulting with key stakeholders in rural health to formulate advice for the federal ministers of health to assist their development of health policy and strategy to improve the health of rural and remote Australians. The term is for 2 years. I started in July 2020, but my term may be extended. I spend my days in meetings and talking to people, face-to-face, via video and on the phone. And when COVID settles, I'll once again be back on planes, moving from one end of the country to the other. This is a role of influence rather than power. I can talk to you about power another day and about how it is enacted. I watch it every day. I referred to having 4 children. We have 3 sons and 1 daughter. They're now adults. They are, in order of age, a physicist, a rural doctor, a professional cyclist and a mathematician. Our daughter is the cyclist. She's Grace Brown, the Olympian. She too was a boarder here. She was a middle distance runner for school and university. Anthony is a real cycling nut and he kept trying to get her on a bike. After her 3rd stress fracture running, she got on a bike and the rest is history. Last year she won 2 World Tour races and came 4th in the Tokyo Olympics individual time trial. This year she's taken her 2nd Australian individual time trial championship, the 3rd silver in the road race championship, and will compete with her French team, FDJ, in the first Tour de France Femmes. I am very proud of all of my children, but I have to say Grace's career gives me the most excitement. Well, time's up. I've reminisced too long. Good luck with your studies. God bless you in your learning. May you always look about you with your eyes and hearts open and listen. Ponder what you hear and give back.